Picture this. A 10-year-old boy stands in front of the Kaaba. Everyone around him is bowing to idols made of stone. But this boy refuses. He looks up at the sky and says, "I will never worship anything but the one true God." That boy would grow up to become one of the greatest warriors, scholars, and leaders in Islamic history. A man so brave that the Prophet Muhammad himself gave him the title Asadullah, the Lion of Allah. But his story is not just about battles and bravery. It's about loyalty, wisdom, sacrifice, and a love so deep that it changed the course of history. Before we begin this incredible journey, please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. Let's reach 1 million views together and spread this powerful story to the world. This is the story of Ali ibn Abi Talib, radiyallahu anhu. Ali was born inside the Kaaba itself, the only person in history to be born in the holiest place on earth. Some say this was a sign of his special destiny. He was the cousin of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but he was more than a cousin. He was like a son. When Ali was just 5 years old, a terrible famine struck Makkah. His father, Abu Talib, had many children and struggled to feed them all. The Prophet, out of compassion, took young Ali into his own home. From that moment, they were inseparable. Ali grew up in the Prophet's house. He watched him pray. He listened to his words. He saw how he treated people with kindness and justice. And when he was only 10 years old, something happened that would define his entire life. The Prophet received his first revelation from Allah. Angel Jibril came to him in the cave of Hira and said, "Read." The message of Islam had begun. When the Prophet returned home, only 2 people believed him immediately, his wife Khadijah and young Ali. Think about that. A 10-year-old boy, in a society where everyone worshipped idols, had the courage to stand up and say, "I believe in one God." While grown men mocked the Prophet, while powerful leaders rejected him, this child never wavered. Ali became the first young person to accept Islam. And from that day forward, he never looked back. The people of Makkah hated the message of Islam. They tortured the believers. They boycotted them. They even tried to kill the Prophet himself. After 13 years of persecution, Allah gave the Prophet permission to migrate to Medina. But the leaders of Makkah had a plan. They gathered warriors from different tribes and agreed to kill the Prophet in his sleep. That way, no single tribe could be blamed. The night came. 40 armed men surrounded the Prophet's house, waiting for dawn to strike. But inside, something extraordinary was happening. The Prophet looked at Ali and said, "Tonight I must leave for Medina. But I need you to do something dangerous. Sleep in my bed. Wear my green cloak. Let them think you are me." Imagine being asked to take your place in a bed that 40 assassins are about to attack. Would you do it? Ali didn't hesitate. He smiled and said, "Will you be safe, Ya Rasulullah?" The Prophet said, "Yes." Ali replied, "Then I will do it with happiness." That night, while the Prophet escaped through a back window and hid in the cave of Thor, Ali slept peacefully in his bed. He knew the assassins might kill him, but his love for the Prophet was greater than his fear of death. When the assassins burst in at dawn, they found Ali instead. They were shocked. The Prophet had escaped, and Ali? He stood up calmly, returned the items people had left with the Prophet for safekeeping, and then walked out of Makkah on foot, alone, through enemy territory, to join the Prophet in Medina. This was the kind of man Ali was. Fearless, loyal, willing to give everything for truth. In Medina, the Muslims were still few in number. The enemies of Islam were many, and battles were inevitable. Ali became known as the greatest warrior of his time, but not because he loved violence. He fought only when necessary, only in defense and always with honor. Let me tell you about the Battle of Badr, the first major battle in Islamic history. The Muslims were only 313 men. The enemy had over 1,000 soldiers armed and ready for war. Before the battle began, 3 enemy champions stepped forward and challenged the Muslims to single combat. Ali was young, but he volunteered immediately. He defeated his opponent in seconds. Then came the Battle of Uhud. In the chaos of the fight, a rumor spread that the Prophet had been killed. Most of the army scattered in panic, but not Ali. He stayed by the Prophet's side, fighting off wave after wave of attackers. He was wounded multiple times, but he never left. He shielded the Prophet with his own body. The Prophet later said about him, "There is no sword except Zulfikar, and there is no hero except Ali." But the most famous moment came during the Battle of Khaybar. The Muslims were trying to conquer a fort controlled by the Jews of Khaybar, who had broken their treaty and allied with enemies of Islam. Day after day, different commanders tried to break through the gate, but they all failed. Then the Prophet said, "Tomorrow, I will give the flag to a man who loves Allah and His Messenger, and whom Allah and His Messenger love. Through him, Allah will grant victory." Everyone wondered, who could it be? The next morning, the Prophet called for Ali. He gave him the flag and made a dua for him. Ali marched to the gate of the fort. A giant warrior named Marhab came out to challenge him. They fought, and with one strike, Ali split Marhab's helmet, his head, and even his shield. The fort was conquered. But here's the powerful part. After the battle, Ali didn't boast. He didn't celebrate himself. He gave all the credit to Allah. This was his character, strength mixed with humility. Ali wasn't just a warrior. He was one of the greatest scholars of Islam. The Prophet once said, "I am the city of knowledge and Ali is its gate." People would come from far and wide to ask Ali questions. He memorized the entire Quran. He understood Islamic law better than almost anyone, and he had a wisdom that amazed even the oldest scholars. There's a famous story about his wisdom as a judge. Two women came to him with a baby. Both claimed to be the mother. There were no witnesses. How could he decide? Ali thought for a moment, then said, "Bring me a sword. We will cut the baby in half and give each woman her share." One woman said, "That's fair. Do it." But the other woman cried out, "No! Give the baby to her. I don't want my child harmed." Ali immediately gave the baby to the second woman. Why? Because only a real mother would sacrifice her own claim to save her child's life. His judgments were always wise, always just. He never favored the rich over the poor. He treated everyone equally under the law of Allah. He also wrote beautiful letters and speeches. His words were so powerful that they were collected in a book called Nahj al-Balagha, the Peak of Eloquence. Even today, people study his words for guidance. He said things like, "Your remedy is within you, but you do not sense it. Your sickness is from you, but you do not perceive it. Silence is the best reply to a fool. He who has 1,000 friends has not a friend to spare, and he who has one enemy will meet him everywhere." These weren't just wise words. They were lessons from a life lived with deep reflection and closeness to Allah. When Ali was around 23 years old, he wanted to get married. But he was poor. He had no wealth, no fancy gifts to offer, yet he had his eyes on someone special. Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Other companions had already asked for her hand, including Abu Bakr and Umar. But the Prophet gently declined them all. He said he was waiting for Allah's command. When Ali finally gathered the courage to ask, the Prophet smiled. He asked Fatima what she thought. She remained silent, a sign of her shyness and approval. The Prophet agreed. But Ali had nothing to offer as a dowry, so he sold his shield, the very shield he used in battle, to buy what was needed for the marriage. Their wedding was simple. Their home was humble. They didn't have much money, but they had something more valuable, a marriage built on faith, love, and mutual respect. Fatima was known as the leader of the women of paradise, and together, she and Ali raised 4 children, Hassan, Hussein, Zainab, and Kulthum. The Prophet loved this family deeply. He would often visit their home, play with Hassan and Hussein and say, "These are my sons, and whoever loves them loves me." One day, the Prophet covered Ali, Fatima, Hassan, and Hussein with his cloak and prayed, "O Allah, these are my family. Remove impurity from them and purify them completely." This moment is mentioned in the Quran as the event of the cloak. Their love story wasn't about wealth or luxury. It was about partnership and faith. They supported each other through hardship, raised righteous children, and left a legacy that is still honored today. After the Prophet's death, the Muslim community faced difficult times. There were disagreements about leadership. But Ali always put the unity of Islam above his own desires. He supported Abu Bakr as the first caliph, then Umar, then Uthman, even though some believed Ali should have been chosen first. Why? Because he didn't want division among Muslims. Finally, after Uthman was killed, the people turned to Ali. They insisted he become the fourth caliph. He accepted, but with hesitation. He knew it would be a difficult role, and it was. His time as caliph was filled with trials. There were internal conflicts, wars between Muslims, and challenges to his authority. But through it all, Ali never compromised on justice. When he became caliph, he didn't live in a palace. He lived simply. He wore patched clothes.
He ate barley bread.
Once someone saw him shivering in the cold and asked why he didn't wear warmer clothes. He said, "How can I enjoy comfort when there are people in my ummah who are cold and hungry?" He refused to give special treatment to his relatives. When his own brother asked for extra funds from the treasury, Ali refused. He said, "This wealth belongs to all Muslims, not to me or my family." One day he found a ring in the public treasury. His servant suggested he could keep it since it was small. But Ali said, "If I took this ring unlawfully on the day of judgment, it would become a ring of fire around my neck." This was his character. He could have been a rich ruler. He could have lived in luxury, but he chose to live like the poorest person in his community, because that's what true leadership meant to him. Chapter 7. The Final Prayer. 9 week, 10 weeks. In the year 661, during the month of Ramadan, Ali was praying Fajr in the mosque of Kufa. As he led the prayer, a man named Ibn Muljam struck him on the head with a poisoned sword. Ali fell, but even in his pain, his first words were, "I swear by the Lord of the Kaaba, I have succeeded." He knew his time had come. He gave instructions to his sons, "Be good to people. Pray your salah. Fast in Ramadan. Give charity. Maintain family ties, and never oppress anyone." He told them, "If I survive, I will decide what to do with my attacker. If I die, then give him one equal strike. Do not mutilate him. Do not torture him." Even in his final moments, he chose mercy and justice. 3 days later, Ali ibn Abi Talib passed away at the age of 63. He was buried in Najaf, Iraq, where his shrine stands today. His life was a masterpiece of faith. He was the boy who never bowed to idols, the young man who slept in the prophet's bed facing death, the warrior who never lost his honor, the scholar whose wisdom still guides us, the husband who loved with purity, the father who raised righteous children, and the leader who chose justice over power. The prophet once said, "Ali is from me and I am from Ali." What does his story teach us? It teaches us that true strength isn't about muscles or swords. It's about standing for truth when everyone else is silent. It teaches us that real love means sacrifice, sleeping in a bed surrounded by assassins, or selling your shield to marry in a simple way. Before we end, ask yourself, what kind of legacy will I leave behind? Will I stand for truth like Ali? Will I sacrifice for what's right? Will I choose justice even when it costs me? Please like this video, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to our channel.